So tell me, are you married? Are you single? Tell me a
I'm
little bit
married.
more
I have
about
three
you.
kids. None of the kids, they're all through college. I mean, I guess some point they may have some big expenses, but they're all self-sufficient and they don't have any needs. Um, I'm
And how
56.
old are you? Ah, got it. Okay. Okay. So you're 56, you've got three grown children that are all doing well in college. You're planning for retirement. You've got about $1 million now, and you're saving $200,000 a year.
Correct.
Is all that accurate so far? And you're concerned about long-term care expenses. You may need care in the home or in a facility one day. And in 13 years, you expect to have a guaranteed
Yeah, I'm
$150,000 a
just
year in income, you think?
out of the top of my head. With Social Security and everything, I think the current assets that I have currently will, I think some people say 4% of your total asset base. If that's a minimum and we do $1 million, you say that plus Social Security, that's under. But yet, I think I'm saving at a much higher rate than I ever have before. I mean, clearly, I'm putting 200 a year, and I only have $1 million in assets. So I'm definitely saving.
Right.
Now that everything's kind of paid for and done, I'm definitely saving at a higher rate these days.
That's great. But you're spending $15,000 a month, so we really need to solve for $180,000 spending. But you think you might be spending more than you need to,
Correct.
so that
Yeah,
needs to be analyzed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even, everyone,
Okay.
I was reading in the Wall Street Journal the other day, and they were interviewing all these retired people, and half of them said they wish they would have worked longer because they needed more money, and the other half said they wish they would have retired earlier because they were spending a lot less. So.
Right. Right. So in essence, what I think you're saying is you need an audit of your current spending, a validation that your current savings will be what you think it will in 13 years to provide the income you would like, a plan for long-term care costs and what that care might look like. And are there any other objectives?
I probably would say the biggest objective is just to maybe transition from only having the mindset that I need to save to now transitioning to figure out where am I going. It's easy to spend your life be like, okay,
Right.
I'm going to make this amount of money and I need to save as much as I have discretionary that I can safely put away. But then when you start getting to the point where like I'm starting to have a point where I may be, I may see the finish line, depending on how many miles away I am from it. So it's a weird thing to start thinking this differently. And it's a more complex problem, I think, than when you're 25. I mean, life's pretty easy. 25, you're like, okay,
That's right.
These are my bills,
That's
and
right.
let's save every penny I have afterwards.
Well, and you can dump it into the S&P 500 when you're 25 years old, but now we've got to be thinking about the arc of risk as you get closer to retirement. And I can tell you, as you get within 5 years of retirement, you really want to be in almost a retirement portfolio because the risk of a big drawback in the market, like we saw in 2000 and 08, can really set you back for your retirement years if you are overly aggressive going into those, because they took 5+ years to recover. Some of the questions we would ask in a discovery meeting if it made sense to move forward, and it sounds like you've got some key planning interests, but what would you do if you didn't have to work? Are you ready for that kind of lifestyle?
I mean, I think my kids would love for me to retire today, and I just can't imagine never working. So that's kind of the other thing is like, there's no reason to over save because I just can't imagine needing that much money.
Well, and that's where, some modeling is important. Tell me about your current investment
strategy. Right now is the interest rate's pretty high. I've been kind of thinking that, the investments that take advantage of having high interest rates currently, those are a good idea. I don't know. I'm all over the board. I have a stock that it's over 350% up, but I also have I just received a letter today that this company that I was heavily invested in, they couldn't get funding from the company they were trying to get funding from. So the funding company didn't give them the money and then made them a pennies on the dollar offer to buy them out. It was a private investment firm. And so I got a message in the mail that I'm getting pennies on my thousands of dollars in investment. So, so I'm probably at, zero for the year, even though the stock market's hitting an all-time high.
And is that an approach that you enjoy, or would having a professional look over those kinds of situations?
I mean, that would have been great probably to have someone look at it, because as the stock kept falling, I kept saying I have to buy more because it is getting to be a better and better price.
Right. Well, and do you have a methodology for how you determine where to allocate your money and when to buy and when to sell?
I have half of everything that I have. I just have in regular, just regular funds, and most of those are doing pretty well. And then the other half, I look at what I think is like big right now. Like I probably have 10 stocks in companies that deal with graphite. I feel like graphite's a really good play for future batteries, because batteries with graphite, they charge super fast. So I like that. Of course, my company that just, I don't know what you want. They didn't go bankrupt. They just, I feel like I got, it's one of these startup investment things where you get swindled. You're like, I can't make the next call, so I'm out, and you just get swamped. But they were taking carbon dioxide out of the air and turning it into jet fuel. So, those plays, I just feel like they're a really good play, and we'll see. But, I bought Oatly this year and it skyrocketed and then it plummeted. I bought, I think my portfolio is up 8%, but I have stocks that are like minus 50% and up 300%. So,
Well, and so on that 50% that you make those selections, is that something that you want to continue to do long term?
But I think I should not do it. Maybe that's the handhold. I bought Porsche. I love owning Porsche.
Okay.
Well, it's just not performing.
I love Porsche. I'll tell you that. So, do you own any diversified private equity?
Most of the funds that I have, I own some European funds, some stock funds. I hold some euro, I hold some pounds, I hold some yen. I hold some of that, very small. And then most everything else, it's some form of an index fund, probably.
What's the purpose for holding other currencies?
I just thought it made sense.
And is there a reason why you've got Europe stocks?
I think actually the reason that I did it was I felt like if I held the currency, I would watch the currency, and instead of just what's going on with the currency rates across different countries, I would watch it, and that turned out to be completely false.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to watch. That's the challenge with keeping up. We have access to everything, but limited time and sometimes understanding of how to maximize the opportunity. Okay, and what kind of tax plan are you doing?
I don't know. I would say I'm not so much focused on tax planning, and I think most of this stuff, most everything that I own is not in a 401k or a SEP, or it's not tax deferred at any level. It's all pretty much just cash. In the
How much in taxes are you paying?
85? Yeah, that sounds right.
85,000. Okay. So you're spending about 180, saving
around there
200, and paying about 85,000 a year in taxes. Okay. I think you might be able to save more through some retirement planning with retirement plans, which is worth looking at. But from what you shared with me, it sounds like you've got a collection of investments, but maybe not a cohesive strategy designed to meet your objectives. Is that accurate?
Without thought, maybe.
Right. Well, there's a lot more questions that I would ask in our full discovery meeting. I'd want to understand more about your values, more about your key relationships, your marriage, in terms of how you feel about what you want to do for the people that you care about. And, we want to plan thinking about what are those goals that you have for yourself, personal goals, health goals, additional professional goals over the next 13 years, what goals you might have for what you want to do for the people you care about, the causes you care about. We certainly want to look at how you're protected, because with all of those assets not in retirement accounts, depending upon your asset protection plan, there could be some risk that needs to be addressed. Do you have an umbrella policy?
I have like about $3 million in umbrella and $3 million life insurance. It's just regular term insurance. Yep.
And $1 million in investments. Okay, so that should generally be covered. Besides your home, your investments, and your what you may have in retirement accounts, and how much do you have in retirement accounts?
Very light in that.
Okay. So is there anything else other than those assets that are worth noting, any collections or other assets? Okay.
They're set to pay out
so that's
when I turn 67.
Are those set to pay out in retirement? Now, is that what you're thinking of, the guaranteed income between those and Social Security that would get you to the guaranteed income of 150 or so per year?
I think what I'm realizing is I really have spent very little time thinking about this.
Okay. Okay. Well, based on everything we've talked about, do you think it would make sense to have a discovery meeting for us to record all of this? And if it made sense to move forward from there, we would have an initial findings meeting where we would give you some thoughts around each of these subjects, and what to consider if you were going to move forward and move forward working with us.
Time. An hour is a big commitment, but I think just these 10 minutes, I realized how much there is to think about and how much I have thought on it, but haven't thought about it,
Right. Well, and tell me,
I think it's just
a waste of time to spend an hour together.
You're just
what should I be
busy. Am I going to get? It's kind of like 1 hour. I mean, we're committed.
Well, that's why we have this short call first. But what I would share with you is we like to spend the time because we want to understand who we might be serving. We want to know what's important to you and how you like to do things to make sure that we can add value. And that's really our key focus is an assessment of adding value through this process. And we check in along the way. So in addition to this initial introduction that Soren so kindly set up, this discovery meeting that we would have would really give us a much deeper understanding of who you are and what's important to you. And we develop a mind map of each family that we work with to make sure we've recorded everything that's important to you and your spouse. And from there, as we go into the initial findings step, we can also begin to look at an investment plan and our investment policy statement that would apply to the strategy that we would be employing to meet your objectives. And as we go through that process, we check in along the way to determine if it still makes sense to go forward. And that is dependent upon our ability to add value and your comfort level in working with our team, which is important for both of us. And we want to make a long-term commitment. So we want to take our time and make
Excellent.
sure you're making an informed
next step
decision
is
with a lot of
pretty much just like
perspective
this,
from
like
us
a
and
Teams
vice versa.
meeting or like this, and then we just do it for longer. I'm in Gainesville, Florida.
Well, and where are you located? Sure. Well, we could do that in person. Happy to either
Teams,
host you here or find a day to meet with you there, or we can meet on Teams. What would be your preference? Sure. We work with people all over the country. In fact, I was just introduced to a business owner in New York City, and they're splitting time in the UK and New York City, and
so,
we meet virtually.
Just send me
in today's world, it's almost as good as being in person.
We'll go from there.
Great. Well, our executive assistant, Sarah, will coordinate the time and we'll send you the Teams request. We also can set up our family office portal for you to upload the list of information that we require to analyze for you. And you can either upload all of that data into the portal, which is custom designed for you and your family, or we can send a secure email to receive that in email. And we can also send FedEx if you like, prefer paper. But we want to get those documents heading into the meeting. And ideally, if I can take a look at everything going into the discovery meeting, it helps me to ask better questions. So we'll get that set up. We'll set up the invite and send what we consider an email letter confirming all of this. And then we'll be prepared for that meeting. We block off about 90 minutes. We could probably complete it in an hour, but we'll see how long it takes to have that discussion.
Perfect. Okay. Works for me.
And then we'll make an assessment at the end of that meeting as to how it makes sense to move forward. Great.
Perfect. Awkward pauses.
Good to meet you. Take care.